All right, so for this game, we have what is effectively just a straight sequencing game. We have 7 positions and conveniently 7 paintings to put into those positions. The elements themselves, we have MPRS followed by TVW, and yeah, that is 7. And this is 1-to-1, right? Every single painting is going to show up exactly once, and we can go straight into the rules. So the first rule says that T has to be closer to the entrance. Now, for the record, anytime you have these kind of ambiguities, double check the exact wording of the setup, and they tell us that the first position is closest to the entrance. So the entrance is effectively on this side. So according to the first rule, T has to be closer to the entrance than W, so we have to have basically T before W. Next, R is going to have to be closer than M, and exactly 1 is in between them. So that's kind of a heavy rule. So we're going to have R space M, and it's going to be exactly that. All right, yeah, let's keep going. P and S are going to have to be consecutive. They're going to have to be next to each other. So, oh, whoops, they will be next to each other. Except they can flip, right? This can go in either direction. Although I guess one minor point here is that obviously they're not going to be able to go in between the R and the N. So I guess that's something. Next, we are told that if the V is not third, then it must be fourth. Now, again, these kind of rules, you want to get used to seeing them as inclusive relationships. Anytime you see something that says, if not this, then that, what basically that means is that one of those two things will have to happen. In other words, V, if it's not third, then it's going to be fourth, just means that it has to be either in 3 or in 4. And I guess we can leave a little reminder here that V is going to take up one of these two positions. Now, in terms of, I guess let's talk about that RM block. I guess if you put the V into 3, you actually still have flexibility, don't you? Because you could put the RM in kind of around. You can do RVM, or you can do even R4 M6 or R5 M7. And if you put R into 4, again, you could do 5-7, 1-3, or even again 3-5. So it feels like we have quite a bit of flexibility. Although, as far as the R and M are concerned, who could go in between them? Because we said P and S can't. So who does that potentially leave? And I guess it would really only be these 3. It would be T, V, and W. So either the V is going to be the one that's in between them, and then it's going to go somewhere over here, or we have some flexibility. W can go here, T can go there. We have, yeah. Okay, so you know what? It doesn't seem like we can do much more with this. Let's see what we can do with the questions. So the first question here is our standard exclusion question. As usual, we go by the rules. First rule says T had to go before W. So A looks good, B does not. We cannot have T last. Answer choice C is fine, D is good, and E is good as well. Next, R before M with exactly 1 between them. So answer choice A breaks every part of that. So R is, although I guess they do have exactly 1 between them, but it's not R before M. C looks okay, D looks okay, and E does as well. Next, P and S have to be next to each other. So C looks good, D does not. They are separated, and E looks good. And lastly, V has to be 3 or 4. So we're just down to C and E. C is fine, V is fourth, E has V second, which doesn't work. So the best answer to question number 17 is C. And I suppose, as usual, let's just plug that into the board. So C has RTM followed by VWSP. Next. So from there, let's take a look at the local questions. Number 18. So if S goes 7th, I suppose the question becomes, as usual, what does that tell us? If S goes 7th, well, obviously P is going to have to be next to it. So P is going to get locked into 6. Now, at this stage, I suppose the question becomes, well, V can either go into 3 or 4, and we have to worry about that RM block. So we're going to need space for R space M. But I feel like that's actually quite flexible. Like if we put a V here, we can do RM quite easily, or even RM in 1 and 3. And if V goes here, we could still do R in 2 and M in 4. So yeah, I'm not sure what more we really could do here. You know what? Maybe this is enough. Let's see what we can do with the question. The question itself asks, which of the following could be T's position? Well, obviously T can't go into 7 or 6, or 5 for that matter, because T has to go before W. So that would get rid of 5, 6, 7. So that, I guess, D and E are both out. And then we're just down to 2, 3, and 4. Well, I guess let's keep going. Could we put a T over here? Because if we put a T over here, then W gets stuck in 5 and V goes into 3. Oh, that's not going to work because R and M can't be spread out without one space in between. So C wouldn't work. Can we do the T in 3? Well, if we put T over here, then V would have to go into 4, and there's no way to do the RM block again. So that takes care of that. The best answer here is answer choice A for question 18. Next, number 19. If P goes 5th, well, I suppose, once again, if P goes 5, what does that tell us? I suppose the S can still go either into 6 or into 4. Although, if we do S in 4, then V gets forced into 3. That's not going to work because, again, the RM, this seems to be a pretty heavy player. If we do S over here and V in there, because V can only be in 3, 4, there's no way to make RM work because then you would just have 1 and 2 left and 6 and 7. So the S can't go into 4. The S would have to go into 6. And then from there, in terms of the RM, I suppose we have a bit of flexibility. If the V goes here, we could make that work in 1 and 3. If the V goes there, we can do 2 and 4. I think that's all good. So you know what? Let's see. Maybe this is enough information. The question asks what must be true. Answer choice A, M4. I'm not sure that we know that. Answer choice B, R2. Again, it feels like the RM had flexibility. S6, there it is. S does have to go 6. The best answer choice to question number 19 is C. Next, number 20 is global. Let's come back to this one. Number 21 says, if R and M are both between the T and the W, okay, so that's a lot. So if we have the R space M block is between the T and the W, so T is going to go before because we know T is before W, and W is going to go after. Wow, okay, so okay, what can we do with this information? I suppose, actually, we have quite a bit of flexibility, don't we? Because, well, wait a minute. Let's talk about who can go in between the R and M, because we said earlier it can't be your PS block. The only people that could have it was, we said, T, V, and W. So T and W are not. So this is actually going to have to be an RVM block, which then limits us because now either the V is going to go into 3, so you would have TRVM, and then I suppose the PS and the W can shuffle somewhere over there, or you could do RV, oh, that's not going to work. There we go. If we do RV and M in 3, 4, 5, then yeah, the W is going to have to go here somewhere, but then we can't put the PS block on that side, and the T is going to have to go somewhere over here. And again, we can't put the PS block there. So once again, if we did R, V, and M, then because T would have to go prior and W would have to go after, there's no way to fit the PS block anywhere. So it would have to be with the V in 3, R in 2, and M in 4, which then forces T to go into 1. And then you're going to have a W shuffling with the PS block, which itself can kind of flip back and forth. So let's take a look. The question itself asks, what could be true? Answer choice A, P goes 5. And actually, yeah, maybe if we do PSW, I think that could have been okay. So let's keep answer choice A. Answer choice B, S goes in 2nd. Nope, that's already R. T goes in 3rd. Nope, he's already in 1st. V goes in 4. Nope, they're already in 3. And W goes in 6. No, that couldn't work because if you put W here, then it would force you to split the PS block, which is not cool. Best answer here is answer choice A. Next, number 22. If there is exactly one painting between the T and the W. Oh, so that's interesting because we know T is before. So you're going to end up with this T space W block. And we already had this R space M block, except, so this kind of touches on what we said earlier. The only thing that could have gone in between these guys was a V, right? Well, T and W. But now that's T and W. So the thing is, we can't put a V between these guys and between those guys. So the only way to make this work right now is if if the TW setup and the RM setup, if they kind of interlocked against each other. Because if they were separate, then there aren't enough things that could go in between these guys, right? V is the only other thing that could go in between them. So essentially, we can kind of say that because they're going to interlock, there's going to be two ways that this can go. Either we're going to have R, T, M, W, or they can interlock the other way. You could have T, R, M, T, R, W, M. Although I suppose it doesn't matter because these guys don't really influence anybody else. They're just going to take up a 4-position block one way or another. But then let's talk about the rest. That means that V, for example, could not go 4 because if you put V into 4, then the 4-position block is not going to fit on either side. So the V is going to have to go into 3. Oof, this is a lot. And then, so this quadruple block is going to have to go on this side somewhere, which means that the PS block is going to shuffle between 1 and 2. And these guys will just say that they'll take up these 4 positions in one of these 2 sequences. So let's go. The question itself now asks, which of the following must be true? Answer choice A, M goes 7, and we're not 100% sure on which configuration it's going to be, so I don't think M has to go 7. B, P goes first, and no, P and S can still split. Next, R goes 4th. Again, we're not 100% sure on the exact positioning there. D, T goes 2nd, and no, that can't happen. E, V goes 3rd, and yeah, that would have to be true. The best answer to question 22 is E. Next, question number 23. If T is next to V, so I guess let's just separate these guys out. So if we have a TV block, and I suppose that this could go either way, we still have to have the W go after. Now V obviously is going to anchor into the 3rd or the 4th position. So the TV block, I suppose, could go into 2 and 3, or it can go into 3 and 4, or it can go into 4 and 5. So it looks like we have quite a few possibilities here. Although I guess let's start with 4, because W has to go after. If we did V and T, the W would have to go somewhere here. That's not going to work because then you're going to be stuck with the RM in 1 and 3, and then the P and S would have to be split up. So we can't do 4 and 5. Can we do 3 and 4? And yeah, that seems safe because if we do 3 and 4, then the RM can go into 5, 7, and the PS block will go into there. Could we do 2 and 3? Actually, wait, no, that wouldn't work because there's nothing to go into 1. If we have T and V in 2 and 3 respectively, then everybody gets pushed after. W has to go somewhere here. The RM block gets forced somewhere down there, and the PS block as well. There's nothing that could go first. So really, it could only be 3 and 4, but I suppose these guys can flip. But from there, we can kind of do a lot more damage. The RM block now has to go into 5 and 7. W will have to go in between them, leaving us with the P and the S in 1 and 2 once again. Let's go. The question asks, in which of the following pairs must the first be closer than the second? So basically, we're just looking for a set whereby the first thing is before the second thing. So A, does P have to go before S? And no, these guys can flip quite easily, so A is out. B, does R have to go before W? Actually, yeah, this looks pretty good. Let's hold on to answer choice B. Just in case, C, does T have to go before V? And no, those guys can flip. D, does V have to go before T? Same thing, they can flip. E, does W have to go before R? And no, that's just false. So the best answer to question 23 is B. Lastly, back to number 20, our one global question, which says, any one of the following could be 3rd except. So let's first use our history. Who have we seen in 3rd? We've seen M, we've seen V, we've seen T go 3rd. So we can cross off M, T, and V. So that gets rid of answer choice A. It gets rid of answer choice D. So now we're down to R, S, and W. Now, I guess let's go one by one. Could we have an R in 3? And I mean, in this template over here, I think that could have been okay. If we put an R over here, then the M goes there, and then T before W can, I mean, V would have to go here actually, and then T would, I mean, yeah, that seems fine. Answer choice B, let's get rid of it. C, could we have an S in the 3rd position? Well, if we put an S over here, well, let's go into baseline. So if we put an S here, then the V would go there, And then I suppose the P would go into 2. So we would have P, S, and V. And then T could go first pretty easily. That seems quite plausible. And then R and M, I think that should be fine. Let's just check the other one. Could we have the W into 3? Well, if we put the W here, then V goes into 4. And the T is going to have to go somewhere. Oh, that's going to break. So here we go. If we put the W in 3 and we put the V in 4, then T has to go before W. It's going to go somewhere over here, but nobody else could. That you run out of people who could have gone into the first two positions, because R and M, there wouldn't be enough space to do an RM block because 4 would already be blocked, and the PS block can't fit into there, and that's pretty much everything. So the W could never go into the third position. The best answer to question number 20 is E.